Welcome to the Greatness Garage, where small business owners come to get the tools and insights to work on their business, not just in it. To get more, check out the Greatness Garage on Facebook and join to become a member. Welcome, Greatness Garagers. I have a special one for you today. I have a dear friend. He's going to share with you his faith process and a journey that you got to hold on tight to here. So this is going to be a truly honest, great experience. And he's gone through a lot. He's experienced a lot. He's been business owner. He's done real estate. He's done exercise sales. He's done a lot of different things. And he's going to tell us what's leading him now. So welcome, Mr. Matt Lundeen. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Awesome, brother. Awesome, brother. So give us a little background about this journey that you've been on and kind of where you're at right now.
Yeah, certainly. So, I would say I was always an entrepreneurial spirit from the beginning. I started getting into my own business when I was about 20 years old. And although I worked for people for a few years in my early 20s, ultimately I wanted to start in different businesses and just kind of go from there. And so I kind of went on a wild ride there for many years. Like you said, I got involved in real estate, whether it be through, owning rental properties or flipping houses, into land and development and some commercial stuff. That was always something that drove me. I was excited about and passionate about. And then back in 2011, I had an opportunity to buy a retail company in which we sold and supplied fitness equipment to gyms, schools, hospitals, hotels, people's homes in the state of North Dakota, and got involved in that as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this was during the oil boom, right? So that, it blew up for you. It did really well on a lot of different opportunities, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. But it was interesting. We were very busy. It opened up another multiple locations for retail locations. We were traveling all over the state. Real estate was doing well. The sales and service side on the retail business was doing well. And it was, from a financial standpoint, it was doing well. It was also very difficult to manage all of that going on at the same time as well.
I bet. Yeah. And so, kind of then walk us through where, the boom ended and it's changed and life got thrown at us, right? I've talked about this many times to people in the Greatness Garage, is that, sometimes the Lord uses a feather to get your attention, and sometimes a brick, and he used an entire apartment building on me. And so, you faced some challenges that downturn happened. How did you face that? What kind of happened? What's gotten you through? Where are you at there?
Yeah, exactly. So, my situation was, maybe similar to others and unique to myself. But ultimately the economy in North Dakota did dip a little bit. Real estate started to, prices started to fall. We were overextended on the retail side of the business, having a lot of overhead out there with sales trying to dip off. And went through pretty rough periods with the business on all fronts. And I was also going through some personal issues as well during that time. And I really started finding that, out of all that growth and all that excitement that was going on and happening, it still felt like I was just chasing and really not having any sense of real fulfillment, while also being incredibly overwhelmed and stressed during that period. That took a toll on my personal health, my mental health, as well as our financial health, the health of our businesses, and the health of my relationships with other people as well. And I didn't really like the person that I was becoming during all of this. And so something was pulling at me, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it at the time, but I knew there was a piece that was missing in my life. And what I did end up finding was what piece that was missing was really not having a connection or relationship with the Lord. Mm-hmm. And while I grew up Catholic and I went to Catholic school my whole life, the minute I graduated high school, it really wasn't a priority of mine. And so during that entire time of trials and tribulations, I didn't have the Lord as part of my life. I didn't have Christ in my life, and I had zero relationship with Christ. And so I felt that pull and that peace, and it just started slowly for me, maybe taking a step back, or, maybe walking into a church, which I hadn't done in years, or maybe saying a prayer one day, which I hadn't done for years. And, going through these difficult times, I would get more and more connected with my relationship with Christ. And, I would sit and I would talk to him, and I would ask him, what are you preparing me for? What are you preparing me for? Because I feel like it's not going to be good.
Sometimes you'd shout a little louder. What am I, right?
Yeah. So, but I found that I was starting to feel a sense of peace and a sense of comfort and a sense of fulfillment that I had never really felt before. And I went through some very difficult times and some dark periods, which I can't necessarily say that, I was supposed to, but there's part of me that says that I am. And I'm actually, as difficult as they were, I'm very grateful, because my relationship with the Lord has vastly improved. And I'm walking this journey now where I am basically walking with peace and with comfort and with a sense of fulfillment. And all those times I felt like I was alone in an ever expanding business, and I don't feel that way anymore. I'm not alone, and but it was a real fear and a real feeling that I would feel for many years of my life.
You know what, Matt? I think I'm going to pause there and give that a little space, because what you just talked about, that journey, I think a lot of us do. We have our faith, and as the business takes more time, even just the time commitment sometimes we're putting to our family or our business and our families, we tend to say, well, that Sunday thing, we can push that back a little farther, and maybe I don't say the prayers every night, and all of a sudden it gets pushed back farther and farther, and we keep going farther and farther than down this journey of building our business, and all of a sudden, let's even say the fiscal success or whatever goes with that, and then we hit this wall of disconnectedness, of lostness, of kind of, why am I doing this? And then, we ask that question, wait, what is this all for? And you mentioned that a little when we were talking a while ago, that, that you had hit a point where, like, what is this for? Right. And it kind of brought you into kind of digging deeper into this journey and saying, okay, if I'm building a business, why? Right. Talk about that a little.
I'm sorry. Can we pause? And I want to re-understand the question.
Absolutely. I'll restate it. Yep.
Yeah.
So, you had went through it after kind of going through some of this process, you kind of realized it and asked yourself, if I'm going through and building this business, what is the purpose? Why am I doing this? If I can't, if I'm building something for my family and I can't, spend the time with my family, and I'm getting pulled away from all the things that truly matter in life. You kind of connected to that as we talked, and so explain how that kind of, in that kind of feeling, you connected back with the purpose of your connection with the Lord and stuff like that.
Yeah, certainly. So, I think when the Lord is not a part of a piece of your life, and ultimately the pillar and the center of your life, you will run through some difficult times and difficult things. That being said, even if the Lord is the center of your life, you're still going to run through difficult times.
You just got something to lean on, right? Yeah.
But you do, and you also have perspective, right?
Yep.
And so when we start talking about why are we here, what are we doing, what are we trying to accomplish, ultimately at the end of the day, what I want to accomplish is I want to walk with the Lord when I leave this earth.
Yep.
And the best way for me to do that is to be able to keep him as a center and a focus, and to glorify him through all the decisions that I make in life. And so that pertains to business as well. And from a business perspective, I feel, or I believe that, glorifying the Lord through your work is one of the most fulfilling things that you can do in your life or in your business. Yep. And so making sure that that's a centerpiece and a focus through whatever business you are creating or working on, will bring ultimate joy and peace and fulfillment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I want to not even roll this into something because it came up and it was such a, everybody's going, I think on the Greatness Garage is going to really relate to this. So one of the things when we talked, Matt and I started talking about doing this interview, one of the things he asked was, like, all right, can I put that if I put that Christ out into your Greatness Garage, how are they going to receive it? Is that okay? Is that going to be, trying to understand where that is? And unfortunately, we've gotten into a world where we have to be, we can't use the word Christ, we can't use the word, God, Lord. And unfortunately, I think we have to be honorable about that. And I think there's respect that goes with different faiths, and that's honorable on both sides. We just saw just the other day, Ellen DeGeneres shared a video about her sitting with George Bush, and somebody had given her some flack about sitting with somebody of different views. And she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. When I say, be kind to everybody, I mean, be kind to everybody. And, in this part is that, the faith, the religions, the spiritualities in this world that anyone wants to support come from love. And so I think, you a great example of how Christ has given you back to kind of a structure, a vision, a process, a purpose in life, and understanding the whys we do is a great story. So this is kind of also, as you hear his story and you resonate with this story, and that even that fear of sharing your faith, don't. Because here's the thing, if you share your faith and somebody wants to attack you for your faith and your belief, then that's probably not somebody you want to work with anyway, or be with anyway. And so I think being proud like Matt is here and talking about that is important, because there's a really important saying that says that which repels attracts. So if I say the word Christ and somebody runs, there's also going to be people that run to me and that are connecting to that. And that's an important thing, to be living authentically with the life that creates for you. So, tell us a little bit about in now where you're sitting at now, where what's a little bit some of the growth that you feel, or some of the clarity that you kind of have in looking forward in life and business and in relationships and all that stuff. What's something some of the stuff that you've gained?
Yeah, well, my life, I've spent my whole life, looking forward, being a visionary, so to speak. And while I do appreciate that gift and the ability to be able to do that, that does come with stresses and pressures to, one of the things I always say God blessed me with was being an analytic. And one of the things that God cursed me with was being an analytic. And
Amen. Amen, brother.
Overthinking so many things and so on and so forth. And really during this process, what I've found is just to try to take a step back and stay present. And, maybe I've lost a little bit of my, visionary type approach to things. But I think that's where I'm at with my journey right now is kind of where I need to be. And so to be honest with you, I take each day just kind of one day at a time, and I just try to stay present in the conversations that I have with people, the relationships I have with people, staying present, and focus on the tasks that I want to accomplish today. And having this grand vision for business just really isn't there at this time in my life right now. I won't say that I won't get back to it, but it just isn't there. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And you know what? And sometimes I think, I think what you end up with is sometimes a little more realistic vision, right? As you start kind of seeing that, you're saying, okay, you're going to look a week in the future, because you can kind of define that in a month, and and then you start building that out. I think there's an educated, experience, wisdom-based balance that exists when you do that. When you're young and say, I'm going to make $1 billion like that, without a plan, you can say that, and people are like, all right, you go get it. But as you get older, you're sitting there going, wait a second, I don't have a plan to do that. I don't know what the steps are to do that. How am I going to, and okay, so maybe that's not exactly where I'm going. And you start kind of refining what that vision looks like. And I think now what's the beauty of what you're going through right now is this, and Greatness Garagers, listen close. The vision that Matt is creating is going to be on a much more solid foundation. He's not going to be throwing out stuff that is outlandish. He's going to be saying, okay, how do I root that back to my habits, to my walk with Christ? How does that work back to the life that I want to live day by day? And, as we go through that process, that vision has a much higher success rate than the one that says, I want to be a billionaire just because I heard the word B, the B word, and I want to be a billionaire. And, so I think this is the thing, is that as you build your foundation, or you build your visions, building them with a foundation that is connected to something true and much truer than Christ, right? So as you go through that process and you go through that building process, it is a truly beautiful thing to watch, because we're watching one of the greater visions being created versus the one that is just a fly by night. Yeah. So congrats on that process. So let's actually talk about, so even though the best part is you're not in the part where you feel that you're building a vision, but trust me, you are, right? And in building this vision, you got in when I do Expecting Greatness, the program I've called Expecting Greatness, the whole thing programmed down is this: you define your values, right? You live your values. And my whole point is this: if from today till the day you die, every day you wake up and live your values, that's a life of greatness. Mm-hmm. And I think you are embodying that and living that right now. And so I think that is an absolutely a beautiful picture to see as you're talking here. So let me ask this question. In the journey that you're in, the path that you're on right now, what are the things that you can think of that are building that foundation so hard, so strong?
Again, I'd like to better understand the question. Could you repeat
absolutely. It? Great job. And one thing I want the Greatness Garagers to remember, listen to how he's asking for me to pause, right? In our, we've all been at this point where we try to make up what we thought they said, and we try to answer the thing the way they want to answer. In his piece that he's answering back with, there's a beauty in that just says, hey, you know what? I'm okay that I didn't quite understand everything that you were saying or get it the way that I think I was supposed to. So can you repeat again? So great job. So what I'm asking for is in the, in the things that you're doing right now, what are the habits? What are the kind of elemental foundational things that you are doing every day that you believe are going to build the future that you want to see?
Yeah, certainly. So, prayer for one, for me, and continuing to walk and to continue on that journey that I have with Christ. I cannot say for as many difficult times and things that I've gone through, what level of peace that has provided me, what level of peace prayer has provided me, as I continue to go through, and I'm still going through difficult times. But I got to say, the outlook on life is so much greater than it's ever been in my life. And I'm really excited about that. So prayer for sure would be one thing. The other thing is just having an intentionality to stay present, and to really stay present in relationships with people, especially. I would find myself over the years, having conversations with people and not really understanding or not really even listening to what they had to say. And so really focusing on being intentional and staying present and really trying to spend time hearing what they have to say, as opposed to just speaking all the time. And as a salesperson, I tell you what, it's very difficult to stop speaking.
Yep. That's great. Well, and one of the things, we talk about is there's the old adage of you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, use accordingly. And the other one that really the most beautiful thing I think of what you just said was you are listening. It sounds like you are listening to understand versus listening to respond. And, I think when you start understanding people at that level, they appreciate you, and the relationships you build are going to be so much stronger and so much better, and so that's I like that. Kind of going back to something you said, one of your focuses was on the intentionalness of staying present. And before we started the actual filming here, we talked about habits, and you said, I think I'm only 20% successful, but I think what that says is that gives the gravitas to the power that just because I say I'm going to have these habits doesn't mean that boom, they're all of a sudden my everyday habits. You got to work a ton on them, and you really have to really invest in that, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And I gotta say, putting them down on paper and seeing them every day, whether it be writing them on your mirror, having them pop up on your phone first thing in the morning is certainly helpful.
Yep.
That being said, it's still not all that easy all the time to maintain those habits, and they take time to form. And I think it's important to know that you will fail at them and you won't be able to accomplish them every day. But that isn't a a knock on your worth as a person and a human being.
Yeah.
And it's not something to beat yourself up for. When I fail, so to speak, at not achieving one of my habits for the day, I just tell myself that I messed up, and I'll do a better job tomorrow. And then I might not do a better job tomorrow, but you know what? I just keep reminding myself that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's a goal, and it's something that I want to try to accomplish, and I work to do it. But it's okay to fail too, and you don't have to beat yourself up for it. Which I think that I've spent throughout my entire career, business wise, and then also on a relationship wise. I would beat myself down as a person if I failed. There was this just unbelievable desire to succeed at everything, and that's not always possible.
Yeah.
And so it did wear me down as a person. And so I have a different perspective and outlook on life as far as not understanding the difference between, my worth as a person and a human being, and, maybe some of the decisions or behaviors I have. And, I'm kind of going off a little bit here on a tangent.
Oh,
but,
hey, you're spot on, brother. I'm loving
point
this.
is it's okay to not achieve everything that you might set out to achieve. And if you keep that in perspective and you just keep working, I think ultimately we'll end up accomplishing what it is we want to accomplish.
Matt, I think where you are perfect in what you just said there, because you're talking the path that most all of us talk through in our minds. That's that same thing of that acceptance. I remember the first I did a Big Mistake Monday. I put that out in the Greatness Garage there. In a Big Mistake Monday, the first one I said was I used to identify myself by the gap between where I was and perfection. Like that's how I define myself. And what you're talking about right now is true 100% acceptance. That you are who you are, and you're going to strive for greatness every day, and you're going to accept with what life is and where you go with it. And there's in the core of peace that you're looking for, that anybody's looking for in business or in life, is acceptance. And I think you said it extremely well. Yeah. So that's awesome, and I think this is you're in such a wonderful place. I think it's kind of this is where a lot of times we have to, some are going through tough times, and to know that this is available, and others to know that this is part of the process. It's not easy work to get to that point of acceptance and saying, hey, this is how we're growing and this is how we're going to be. But it's a much beautiful future. I myself had to go through it, right? The acceptance of failure was so difficult. And I think those of us who succeed when we're younger, and especially I think athletics kind of brings it in. We're blessed enough to be successful in athletics, and we're expected to be the one to win the game or to do the to perform. It's tough to accept that failure, because part of that drivenness is what got us kind of to the top in that position in the first place. But then not realizing that it no longer was serving us. It was actually eroding our lives and eroding our relationships with God and with others, and the challenges there. So wow, that was an amazing one. So let me jump in now. I'm going to jump into the Power 7 questions, and we may weave back into this because there's there's so much gold coming from this. It's really amazing. And I think the Greatness Garagers are going to love this, because I think, audience, you're here to be working on yourselves and working on the process of business. And we're entrepreneurs, so that self and business are so intertwined. And this is part of that journey that we just get to be, honest about. So first question I want to ask in the Power 7 is what is something profound you hope someone says someday about you or your business?
That he was a warrior for Christ.
Very cool. And part of that warrior for Christ really is, and we talked about this earlier about putting the armor on, about being able to say, instead of saying, I follow Christ, being able to say, hey, I believe in Christ, and that is the path that I have, and I believe that he's the Savior. And while I respect if you believe differently, and that's okay, this is what I believe. And putting on that armor. So absolutely. Well, that's great. You're on that right journey. Absolutely. So, I love this one because it makes us, in kind of all we're talking about here too is it's our mistakes and how we learn from them. Like you're, I've known you for a long time, and you are in an amazing spot, probably the best spot I've ever seen you in. And, you're there because of your ability to go through these mistakes and really dig and learn from the mistakes and be honest and not make it a show and not try to cover it up with other, distractions. You sat with it. And so this one might be tough to dig through this process and which one you want to pick out, but what would you say is your greatest mistake that you've ever made in business or in life? And how did it impact and change you?
From a business perspective, I would say having grand vision without a foundation.
That's epic. Having grand vision without foundation. And we're in the process right now of creating a grand vision, but much farther, but by building that foundation first. I love it. Love it. What is your favorite quote and why?
Pass.
Sounds good. No, that's awesome. Yep. What is one thing that you would tell the starting out version of yourself, and how would it have changed your life?
Build the foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ultimately, if it's my biggest mistake, I think if I was to talk to myself back in my early 20s, I would say,
don't make that mistake.
Don't make that mistake.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing too, when we look at stuff. I don't know if you remember down in Vegas, there's that one right next to the Cosmopolitan, right, where they built that 40 or 20-story building or whatever. Well, not maybe 20, but anyway, and it was billions of dollars, and they mixed the concrete wrong and poor foundation. They had to tear the whole thing down.
Right.
Oh, unbelievable, huh? And you look at the stuff when we respect all these old buildings, even like you go back into ancient Rome and all this stuff. The reason they're still there, right? They've been shot by wars and, grenades and bombs and all this stuff. The ones that are still there are there because of their foundation, aren't they?
That's right. It's hard for people like myself, I would say, because we see the end product, and and that's what we see. And we also, I think that just we're in a culture, in a time where we want things now, and we want things immediately. And building that foundation takes time, and it's a slow process, and it's difficult for myself, or has been difficult. To just slow down and, make sure that we've laid and established that foundation correctly.
That's amen. Great one. Great one. So what is one thing that you did that hurt, but are absolutely loved that you did it? Maybe you're proud that you're glad that you did, honored that you did it, but it hurt to do it.
I would say probably just, having humility to be able to discuss openly failures and things that I've struggled with. That was a very difficult thing for me to do, because during that process of business and life and things growing fast, you just want to paint this rosy picture about everything all the time. And deep
Yep.
down internally, you are struggling with some real issues. And, being able to humble yourself enough to say, I am not good at this.
Yep.
And, or I am struggling with this, was a very challenging thing for me.
Yeah.
And it does hurt to do that. However, man, the reward at the end is so much better when you can do that.
Well, and the work that you really need to do never starts until you're able to do that, does it?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So this one's always, it's a good one. It's funny, when I went and I created the Power 7 questions, I always ask the questions what are the 7 I would hate be the toughest for me to answer, and I put them out there. But this one is how close were you to giving up? And what got you there, and then what's got you back?
Sure. I mean, very close to giving up.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulties that I've experienced within the last couple years have really taken a toll on me. Like I had mentioned, both my physical health, my mental health, and yeah, very, very close to giving up. Fortunately, with the support of wonderful family and great friends, I was able to do it, but I needed to ask for help, and I needed good, strong people in my life to be there for me, and they were, and so I give a lot to my friends and family, as well as to my relationship with the Lord, to help me get through some very challenging times. And I got to say that I am very excited about my future in life.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I think that is one of the most difficult things, in people in business. I think that's the most difficult thing, is to ask for help. And in life and in business and all that stuff together, because it's funny. You talked a little bit earlier, is that humility. Help and humility are so tied in, because if you don't have the humility, you can't ask for help. If you don't ask the help, you can't get around the things that maybe you just don't have the skill set yet. Maybe you don't have the experience. Maybe you don't have what it is to get around it. But we feel so inept when we ask for help, when it's the most powerful thing we can do. So yeah, great one. So looking ahead, what is the gap that you feel needs to be closed by yourself or your business? Like, what is the thing that you need to work the most on in the next, little bit that you want to, whether it's skill set, whether it's connection, relationship, whether it's in faith, whether it's in, what is something that you're really focusing on, getting better at, closing the gap on, working on?
I think, just day by day, continue on my journey with faith, um, uh, continuing to stay ever present, and take one day at a time, to continuing to not get too far ahead of myself, as well as not look too far in the past. Recognize mistakes, learn from mistakes, but also recognize and see your failures, or I'm sorry, your successes as well, and learn from those, and just stay in the moment, to continue to build a strong foundation for my future.
Yeah.
And so that's probably the biggest thing that I'm working on right now, and just reminding myself daily. And I like the place. While it's not everything that I've dreamed of, so to speak, right now where I'm at, I do like where I'm at, and
Mm-hmm.
I do like where I'm going. And I think staying present and not getting too far ahead of myself is beneficial and the right thing for me right now.
Yeah. And you know what, Matt, I can connect with that 100% in my journey. When for me, as you go through certain things and challenges happen and you kind of work through them, at first you're saying, I don't know if I like necessarily where I'm at. I don't know if maybe it's not the ultimate grandest of where I'm at, but I like who I am. And
Mhm.
then what I really found out is if I like who I am, then I can like that anywhere. And then I can like I don't, wherever I live in the world, if I like myself, I can be happy there and I can find contentment there. But it starts with that liking yourself, doesn't it? Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. So, what is something that you think that the Greatness Garage members should be asking themselves?
That's a good question. Taking some time to pause and think about that one.
I like it. Oh,
I don't have a good answer for you at this time.
All right, brother. Well, what we'll do is we'll have you share that back out, like, and put it in the. We'll let you comment on the post, stuff like that, and drop that in for them. Drop that little nugget in the comments there, and that'd be great. So, what is if you were going to leave some parting words of wisdom, insight, or encouragement for all the Greatness Garages that are on, Matt, they're on your path. They see that path. They see themselves in your journey. They've experienced themselves, or they just came through it, or they're on the verge of it, or they see the stresses that you've identified as business is taking off, but I'm losing connection with it, whether it's with family, or it's with my faith, or whether it's with the people around me, or it's just with the purpose of why I'm doing it. What is your parting words of wisdom for them as they go through their journey?
Yeah, certainly. From a business standpoint, whether it's highs and you're having unbelievable successes within your business, or whether it's lows and you're having tremendous failures, or it's somewhere in the middle, you as a person is not defined by that. And it's important to stay centered and focused on who you are as a person, which has nothing to do with the successes or the failures of your business.
So well said, brother. So well said. Matt, thank you so much for your time today. This has been an epic conversation. And Greatness Garagers, what you feel on this journey, these conversations that we have are so powerful, and you get to see them and watch them. Make sure you're having these conversations with other people. If you need to reach out to me, that there's that callwithbrad.com. It's a free just conversation. If you need someone to talk to, reach out, ask for that help that he was talking about. And that's how we start that journey to where we really want to be. Like, there's the I want to be right side, and then there's where I really want to be. And you got to go to the garage. You got to go through the garage to be able to get stuff work done, to be able to find that place. So, Greatness Garagers, you got a true diamond here today. This is just beautiful. Enjoy it, and we'll see you more in the Greatness Garage. All right, everyone, much love. I hope you enjoyed the interview today and found value that you can implement in your business immediately. Remember, action is what makes this information all worth it. If you need help figuring out what that action is, go to callwithbrad.com and we'll get some clarity and help you figure out what that should be.